The other things that we can go ahead and talk now, it's around how we can interact with our files or with our file system in this case. So I can go ahead and create a new chat here. And I want to start now bringing all these different contexts together in one single shot. So literally having all this information coming together as a unified flow that the agent can tackle for us in one place. When we look at tools, which is another layer that we can use in Paradime to fetch additional context from external application, we integrate with Linear and Jira for task management, as well as Perplexity and Web Search to fetch additional information that we might need from outside of the current environment that the agent is running on. And we can now also use one of the prompt library we have, which is implement the Jira issue. Here is where we already have a prompt that says, okay, I want you to ultimately fetch additional information from a Jira ticket, which I'm going to provide now, and then go and accomplish that task in there for me. So I will copy a link to my Jira issue here, and I'm going to paste this in. Okay. Now, when I press enter, what we'll see is a bunch of like processes and things that will be starting. So the first thing that the agent will be fetching context and additional information from the Jira ticket itself. So it will go here, it will find all the relevant information that is needed. And also based on my requirement, and this is super powerful, particularly when we want to handle complex tasks and various different steps as part of the process that the agent will need to tackle. We will go through the agent creating its own understanding of that Jira task and start creating its own to-do list, so that the agent will fundamentally start accomplishing some of this piece of work towards it, update me with where he's at in this step, and also checkbox all these different pieces of work that is going to do that. As part of the information he's doing now, okay, he's going to go and create a new sources.yml. So fetching additional data that I have currently in my database to identify all the different sources that I require. And again, here is where he's going to fetch additional information using the search tool. He's going to fetch through my current DBT project structure to understand what is available. And he's going to go back to one of the tools and contexts that the agent can manage on his own, which is around fetching tables information for all the columns that we're building our sources of YAML for the new sources there. So again, going through a few steps here of fetching the additional metadata we need so that we can go ahead and build the sources of YAML for it. This is where all these different combination of tools and context and we send allows the agent to accomplish its tasks. And I think particularly this one that we see now of creating his own to-do list and working towards it is extremely powerful to make sure that the agent is actually accomplish the tasks in the way we want it. And of course, we can make changes to it. We can modify them if needed. Right there. It's going through the first steps now, which is review some documentation, identify all the tables, and now starting creating the files that we want in there. At the end of this, we'll then expect to go to the next step and then the step after and the step after. So we'll get to finalizing what's in the original ticket for us. So this is one of the functionality that I'm most excited about it, Jira Context, because this is where we tend to write more information, additional information that we share around what the Jira ticket should do and what kind of things we want to accomplish. And now the agent has the ability to go and fetch that information for us there. Super easy. We went and built right away now our first part, which is our sources here for the new source data that we have. So think about if a product manager will create a ticket for us with additional specs in there, we can actually fetch that as part of our development process. And now we'll go about start creating the staging models for these new sources I have available. And again, it will create the staging models based on the context available within my dinorules. If we go and we see some of those rules and how that looks like, is okay, use uppercase for single keyword, make sure that we use a certain naming convention, in there, make sure that we use left linings and comments and aliasing. So all these things that we want the agent to effectively follow as generate the code is all the context that is available to the agent to accomplish this task alongside everything else that is fetching on demand from either the data warehouse tool or Jira in this case. So we created the first file now, and now also the second file is coming together. And now we'll go through the remaining steps in here of finalizing the additional few models that we want there. So just a few more seconds to get this up and running. And we see, particularly for those kind of tasks and things that we have to do as part of DBT development, now we can use the agent to do a lot of the groundwork, really. All these things around generating base models and sources and schema file and tests, all those things can come together by simply providing some information into a Jira ticket. So we completed now with the models that we added there. You can see automatically went and find what the naming conventions are. So this is the way how I want my naming convention. If inside your organization you have different naming convention or different rules, it is as simple as just updating the dinorules for it. And then on the back of that, those rules will be implemented as part of your experience, so you can actually customize them as you need them. So we'll go now and we expect this finalizing some of the Schema.yml that we want here. And all this is done on the fly. All the descriptions, all the basic tests that I want are there. I can go ahead and click on accept this. And again, the YAML files are created based on the naming convention I have and based on the rules. And now the agent is automatically going, okay, I've done a bunch of tasks and I made some progress in here. Let me go and read my to-do file that I've just created, that the agent created for himself, DinoAI, so that I can update and make sure that things are reflecting with the steps and where I am currently there. So we have a bunch of things that are all green. Okay, we got quite far as part of the process there. So I can go ahead and click on accept. And we can see that the agent was able to go and stop doing the process and actually go and check that, okay, did I do all the stuff and all the different tasks that I wanted to accomplish as part of the process? Now, all of them is done, so are completed. There's a summary of all things that have been finished up for me. I can also suggest, he's also suggesting, okay, now that you've done all these things, let's try and run a DBT compile. So this is now using our terminal tool, which is going to go and compile our code, and it's going to check that fundamentally things are working as expected. So we got a success here. And it's, again, gathering additional context from the terminal output itself to make sure that the task is actually completed and nothing is breaking. Now, this is the point where I can jump in and say, okay, actually, can we do a bit more things? And can we validate some of the data we have? Can we run the models? Can we do all these different additional action, which were not part of the ticket, but I can still have a conversation with the agent to ultimately bring all these things together as what is the next step.